Okay. Another week, another episode of the Itty Bitty Podcast. My guest this week is a longtime friend of mine. So you're in for a good show. He's got an incredible story. It's a great comeback story. He's one of the biggest real estate agents in Massachusetts, if not the biggest real estate agent in Massachusetts. They call him the king of real estate, Big Lewis Martins. So he's got, like I said, he's got an awesome story. I've known him for a long time, so it was just really fun to sit down and talk to him. But I've told you guys before, this is not a real estate podcast. This is the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's anything but, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's the Itty Bitty Podcast. The Itty Bitty Podcast.
It's okay, I vape, right?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just go in on a vape. So, Lewis Martins. Welcome to the Itty Bitty Podcast. We're starting. So thank you for being here. I know you're a busy guy. I've known you for a long time, so I appreciate you helping me out.
Thanks for inviting me, Perry. I miss you.
So we're going to talk, we're going to talk about whatever today, but we're going to talk a little bit about your story. And so you're a real estate agent, but like a lot more than that, because this isn't really a real estate podcast. But yeah, so I guess let's start with where you're at now. So what technically is your title right now?
So I am a real estate broker owner, which is a little different than being an agent because you have to do more testing and more classes to get the broker's designation.
Okay.
And having a broker's designation means you can open a real estate company and have other agents work for you.
Okay. And so right now you've got how many agents working for you?
23.
23.
Yeah.
And would you say you're pretty big in the state of Massachusetts as far as real estate goes?
As far as real estate goes, I'm kind of a big deal now. Right now I'm in the top 100 salespeople in Massachusetts, and there's probably close to 50,000 real estate agents. I'm in the top 100.
Okay.
For sales.
So what sets you apart? What gets you to be in that class, that category?
Really just a lot of hard work, a lot of motivation, determination, and goals that I want to crush, and just not being able to go backwards in life.
Okay.
You've known me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You met me before I crashed and burned, and you've known me after I've risen from the dead. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, I just never want to go back to that place again. So that's what motivates me. Like, I don't want to wake up poor or homeless or hungry.
So I guess that's a good place to start then. So let's start with, we've got now, let's go back to before. So I also gave you the good headphones, by the way. I don't give the good headphones to any guests.
I appreciate that. I have a big head, so you got to give me the good headphone. Headphones. So started real estate in 2000.
I gotta ask you to just hold it just in one spot there.
Okay.
When you're talking.
So started real estate in 2000.
Okay.
For a young kid that started out, I did pretty good. But being a young kid, I wasn't very mature, as you know. There was a lot of things that I could have done differently. There's a lot of ways I could have spent my money differently. And I probably was the only person in real estate that lived paycheck to paycheck, but the checks were bigger.
Right.
So it's just, blowing through money quickly on things that didn't matter. And then...
was it fun stuff?
Oh, a lot of fun stuff. Like, we didn't wait in lines at any clubs. We had VIP everywhere we went.
I do kind of remember those days.
Yeah. So we even get into the clubs after they were closed.
Right.
You remember those days?
Yeah.
But
what about toys? Like,
I've had Hummers, I've had Escalades, Mustangs. I've
just boss shit, right?
cars, houses, vacations, whatever I wanted to do, I just did.
Okay.
And didn't think about tomorrow or how much money I got left or anything like that. I just lived on a whim, I guess, you know.
So there's a lesson there.
Of course. Spend your money wisely. You have a lot of it. You have a lot of friends, too. And then when the market crashed, I found out where my friends really were.
Okay.
You know, it was my mom and my grandma. Those are my friends.
Right.
My real friends. Well, you're still my real friend, too. But
oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
because clearly you've been here from the start to the finish. So, but like the fake friends, the ones that, you know, when you're 17, you get your first car and all of a sudden everybody wants a ride.
Right.
You know, you got a good job and everybody wants you to take them out to lunch to celebrate, or they want you to take them out to this or pay for that. Like I did a lot of that.
Right.
And now
there's a lot of taking people out.
Yeah, now I just stay to myself. And if I go out, I go out. If I don't, it doesn't even bother me. And I decline a lot of invitations now to go out.
Right.
Because there's always a motive now that you're successful again.
Right.
But I wasn't ready for a real estate crash in 2008.
Okay. So 2000, you're starting out. 2008, the market crashes.
2008 market crashed.
And you no savings.
I had no savings. I was a guy that made $150,000 plus a year with no savings.
Okay.
No money in retirement account. No backup plan to what to do next when nobody was buying houses.
Right.
Which kind of put me in a depression. And as you know, I was going through a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
So that added on to the breakup and losing my house to foreclosure, which as a real estate agent, probably the most embarrassing thing for me was losing my own house.
Right.
And not being able to save myself.
Right.
Which helped spin my business years later because I got into the habit of just helping other people. People in the same situation that I was in, people that didn't know how to handle that situation. I learned how to handle it the hard way.
Right.
Just by going through it. So I was able to help others stop that process, stop being foreclosed on, stop losing their houses, stop just basically they stop their life when that happens. You know, people that in that situation, they stop opening their mail.
Right.
They don't see the court notices or the foreclosure dates or the auction dates and things like that. And they just get so overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. So their only choice in their mind is just wait it out. And when it happens, they'll figure it out then.
Right.
You know, now I step in with, well, we're going to give you a plan on how to combat this. Even if we can just buy you more time, we could at least get, you know, the time to save some more money to where you're going to go next. Maybe
right.
negotiate with the bank to give you a relocation fee. So that way you're not, you know, trying to come out of pocket for first, last, and security. We'll make the bank pay for that.
Right.
But, you know, we do a lot of rentals and we help those people also with credit repair because who wants to be stuck renting for the rest of your life?
Right.
You know, you just recently bought a house a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it great to be able to stay up as late as you're not, make as much noise as you're not, and not have a landlord tell you when to go to sleep?
It's pretty nice. Yeah,
right.
Nobody really tells us what to do.
So my whole thing is helping people attain that independence through home ownership. And not everybody's meant to be a homeowner, but there's ways to own property without all the responsibility.
Right.
You know, you can hire a property manager for the house that you live in.
Right.
You know, you buy a triple decker. Why not get a property manager?
Right.
Somebody to cut your lawn, somebody to change the
nice.
light bulbs on the outside and things like that. Those are all things that we can help people set up so that way you can still buy a good investment property, live pretty much rent-free in that investment property, and then be able to live a more fruitful life because, you know, if you're not really paying to live anywhere, that money's going on to your bank account. And
right.
Maybe you can reinvest that money somewhere else in stocks or whatever it is that your hobbies that you like to do or your side gig, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I feel like people just live too much in the now. They don't think about the later.
Going forward. So
right.
Market crashes, you're broke. Do things immediately turn around, or is there a time period in between where you're, you know, getting yourself together? What's that like?
So I was depressed for a very long time, maybe just over a year. I drank too much. As you know.
Yeah, as we all did.
Yeah. So I ended up breaking my leg one day on a drunken stupor.
I was going to say that you had that gnarly injury.
Yeah, broke my leg Friday the 13th, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a Thursday night at midnight, but it had just struck 12 and 1 second, and I broke my leg. So
Ooh.
Technically it was Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
which that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So, and the reason I say that is because had it not happened, I would have just kept going through my depression. I would have still been doing the crazy things that I was doing, and I probably wouldn't have got anything back together.
Right.
So the broken leg kind of immobilizes me.
It was gnarly too. I remember the pictures of it.
Yeah.
I remember going into Boston with you to either pick you up or take you there or something like that, or bring you something. And I just remember you showed me the pictures, and it was pretty nasty. And that was a long time too, right? It wasn't like leg broken, like recovery. You had to go back and forth for different surgeries, right?
Yeah. So December of 2009 was the first surgery, and I stayed in the hospital, I want to say 10 days, and that was at Good Sam in Brockton. And they did a good job for what it was at the time. I should have probably just went into Boston right away, but we love convenience, so it was 5 minutes down the street, so I'd rather just go 5 minutes than sit in traffic, which I should have just sat in traffic that day. That surgery caused an infection in my leg. So February of 2010, I went back in to clean the infection, and I was probably there for a week. And then May of 2010, I want to say we went to go see Hangover, and that's when it happened again. Do you remember that? Legacy's Place with Jameson and Dominic and them?
Probably.
So we went to go see, I want to say it was Hangover 2 or 3.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
We went to the movie theaters, and my leg started acting up. It just felt weird. And then it kept progressing throughout the movie to the point where we left, and I went to the hospital again, and the infection came back due to the metal that was in my leg. So they had to remove it. It wasn't healing right, so they rebroke it. I was in the hospital at that time 63 days I missed Memorial Day weekend and 4th of July, and you guys were in Palmer, and I was in the hospital that year. So I had 3 more procedures on my leg, and then they discharged me, I want to say July 6th or 7th, and I thought everything was fine.
Right.
You know, I had the walking boot on for maybe 3 or 4 months. Did my visits, did all the treatments. I was in the hospital daily getting the treatments after I was discharged after the 60-something days. And then from there, you know, everything was great. I was walking in. I even went to football practice to test out my leg, and everything was good. And then fast forward a year, pretty much to the same exact date, infection came back again. So now I have a wound vac on my leg, and they had to do 3 more procedures on my leg to rectify that. And I want to say 2011, so I was there again, basically Memorial Day to the 4th of July. Missed Palmer again 2 years in a row, and now we don't even have a Palmer, Dominic. So they, at the end of that last 3, so I had 9 total surgeries by this point, just over 2 years. You know, went back into rehab to strengthen the leg, did my follow-up visits. I want to say right around the last week of August, right before Labor Day, they took the walking boot off and told me I was good to go.
Okay.
And pretty much been fine with my leg ever since, thank God.
No
from
issues.
there, you know, I had some time to dwell in the hospital, you know, 60-something days by yourself.
Right.
Will do a lot to you. And I did have people come visit me. My girlfriend came to visit. My mom came down a few times.
That might have been
friends.
when we came up. I think that might have been, because I remember like it was a long time into you having an issue with your leg. And I remember coming into Boston that might have been during that 60 days. But that was crazy.
And for anybody listening thinking that this is probably, it's just an infection, a staph wound or something, they actually wanted to amputate my leg.
That's what I was just about to ask. Like, was it, were you going to lose the leg?
Brockton wanted to amputate my leg, and that was the day I just ripped all the IVs out of my arm, and I drove to Boston Medical Center in Boston with the pajamas that I was wearing in the hospital. And I walked right in. I said, I'm sick. I know what's wrong with me. Somebody needs to help me. They admitted me, and I didn't see anybody for, 2.5 months.
Wow.
So I got a lot of time to dwell. Like I said, you see your real friends, because I saw my real friends that showed up in the hospital those days, like you and Marlon, and Hawaii came through, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Well, Hawaii came because I drove them. But.
Well, yeah. Sorry, Hawaii.
He had to come.
But, you know, the people that you surround yourself with, sometimes people surround themselves with too many people.
Right. You got to keep your circle small.
You know, now my circle is like tiny.
Yeah. So, legs better, back on your feet, back in the real estate game, everything's... No? Nothing's copacetic yet?
So, in the time that I got depressed, broke my leg, in the 2.5 years of surgeries, my license expired.
Okay.
Because it was one of those things where you either chose to eat and pay your bills and rent and car payment, or renew your license and pay an MLS fee and this fee, when I knew I wasn't going to be doing real estate in that time frame until I could walk.
Right.
How could I show a house if I can't walk up and down the stairs?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what kind of agent would that be?
Right. And were you able to drive?
I was, but I wasn't supposed to.
Okay.
You know, because I had the full cast on my left leg. You know, going into a car with crutches and a full body cast, basically. They tell you not to drive, but what am I supposed to do? I have no other option but to drive. So, no license. Now I'm sitting there like, okay, how do I get this back? I need money.
Right.
So I left the hospital. Like I said, the day I left the hospital, I went to look for a job. I didn't wait a day or two to relax or recover. As soon as I got off the highway, I stopped at the first place that I knew I could get a job, and that was at Chili's in West Bridgewater.
I was just about to say, I was like, as you were saying that, I'm like, we both, because I worked at Chili's too for a long time. I think I was already at Chili's, and I had already moved to California at that point, and I was working at Chili's out in California. But Chili's baby.
Chili's baby back ribs.
I had a lot of fun working at Chili's, though.
Chili's was awesome to work at.
Yeah,
honestly, life was so much easier when I worked at Chili's.
Oh yeah.
You know, you lived on a fixed income,
work,
and you knew what you had to spend. Exactly. You got out of work at 11 o'clock. You're at the bar or a club or whatever, and
everybody in the restaurant industry is fun. Everybody
in the restaurant industry is fun.
You meet a couple people that aren't fun, but for the most part,
maybe 1 out of 100 just sucks. Yeah. But for the most part, the waitresses are all awesome. The cooks, the management, except for maybe 1 or 2. And
if you don't know this, tip your
waiter and waitresses. Otherwise, you're
especially in Massachusetts, because they make
$2 and like 60 cents an hour. So those people that want the convenience of not cooking and cleaning after themselves, tip your waiter and waitresses, you scumbag.
That's the Itty Bitty Podcast PSA for the day.
That's it.
So you're at Chili's. Back to the story. You're at Chili's.
So I basically went to Chili's and I begged for a job. Okay. They weren't going to hire me.
Okay. Did you have any experience in restaurant?
I worked at Chili's when I was 18.
You're 18. So
I said to myself, I was like, well, how much different can the menu be?
Right.
I can make a blossom.
Yeah.
But they don't even sell blossoms anymore.
No more blossoms, yeah. It's like Kitchen of the Future or something that they do now.
Yeah. So I went to Chili's, and I looked at the guy, Tony, and shout out to Tony for giving me the opportunity and chance to get that job, because it basically set the rest of the story for where we are today.
So you saved money, got your license.
I told the guy, I said, listen, I know how the business works. You're hiring. You need somebody to work. You need to keep your costs down. I was like, give me minimum wage. I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I was like, I worked in a restaurant before. I love to cook, and I'm a hard worker. So he hired me right on the spot. I started 2 days later, got my uniform, my training in. I cooked on the fryer later there. I've done the grill there. I've done salad nacho over there. I even bar backed, cleaning tables. I did some dishes when the dishwashers called out. I literally did whatever the guy wanted to for $10 an hour when everybody else was getting paid 13 or 14.
Right.
Didn't ask for a raise. I just did my 40 hours every week, covered any shift they wanted to cover. Basically worked. I'd work a Monday double, close at 12, get home by 1:30 in the morning, and then get there on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. to unload the trucks.
Right.
So that was the worker that I was for them.
Right.
I was there for maybe 8 months total.
Okay.
In between that time that I was working there, I got a second job, which a lot of people today don't understand that concept about just getting a second job if you need money.
Right.
You could either get a second job and inflate your bank account, or you can binge watch seasons of whatever the hell people watch, because I don't even understand why people waste their time with TV anymore. And I used to be the biggest TV person out there. Like, I watched every episode of this, that, and the other thing, and TV shows and sports talk shows. Now I just DVR everything,
right?
Which I still don't get time to go back to watch. But at least I give myself the option if I wanted to watch,
Right.
I could watch.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a kid, I probably wouldn't have cable because it's a waste of $240 a month.
Yeah, the amount of time I spend watching TV on average is gone significantly down. Like
That's like $3,000 a year people pay for cable.
I know I
If
pay
you
so
have-
much for, but I have to have it all because I'm into all the comic book stuff and I love all that stuff. So I have
Stream
to
it.
have it. I know I do. So I stream it all, but cable we have because we live in
Think about
Washington
this.
and we got to have the NFL package.
If you pay, let's just say it's $200 a month.
Right.
All right. So you're somebody spending $2,400 a year to watch television, to have 500 channels,
Right.
and they maybe watch 5 of those channels.
Right.
Because how much hours in a day you can possibly watch 500 channels?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So $2,500 a year, 5 years, let's just say. That's $12,500.
It's a lot of money.
Right. So in 5 years, if you didn't watch cable, you would have $12,500 if you put it away and save it.
Right.
And you tell me, hey, I want to buy a house. You maybe on a $300,000 house need $10,500 to buy that house, and you
Right.
just saved $12,500.
Yeah.
So when most people say, "Oh, I have a hard time saving money," cut out cable.
Cut out cable, yeah. You can stream. The only reason we have cable at this point is because NFL, my wife especially wants to watch the Patriots, so we're in Washington. That's Seattle country, so
Yeah,
they
but
only
you gotta play the
Seattle
game with
Seahawks.
these companies.
I know my wife calls them. She's the haggler, man. She calls them and she gets them. But I think once we move, we're gonna get rid of cable for
Yeah,
sure.
this is what you do though. You call DirecTV.
Mm-hmm.
You sign up for their gig. It's like $40 for the first year, and you get the NFL Network for free and the Red Zone for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the contract's up, you go to cable because they'll give you the same thing when you sign up for them as a new customer. And since you haven't been there for 2 years, you just keep rotating back every 2 years.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I just want to get rid of cable altogether.
I hate Comcast.
Yeah, we have CenturyLink because that's one of the only things offered, but Comcast is the other option, and they're not much better. So, but anyway, we just went off on a tangent about DirecTV.
Comcast sucks.
So,
All right, so I get a second job.
get a second job. What's the second job?
So the second job was at Gillette, at the razor company.
I forgot. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I worked that overnight. So there'll be a lot of days where,
Yeah, you were working a lot. I forgot how much you were working.
yeah. So like a typical Thursday, Friday for me would be going to Chili's at 4 o'clock for the dinner rush, set up my station, all that crap. Leave Chili's by 11, get to Gillette by midnight, and do a 12 to 8 overnight. Go home, sleep for 5 hours, 6 hours, and then go about my day till I had to be at work again. And I would repeat that on Thursday and Fridays. So those are the only 2 days I had to work both at the same time.
Right.
But it stopped me from going out and spending the money that I was trying to save to get my license back. So I just literally was on a grind. For a good 4 months, I did both jobs. Gillette, I left in January of 2012 because I needed to start my real estate comeback. I needed to get my license back. I need to do the hours, and there's a process. Once you out for a few years, you have to redo it like you're a brand new person. So I had to do all that. I had to get the money for the licenses and the tests. Still had to pay my car payments. Still had to pay my rent. And at this point, I'd found a roommate. I was living with Cass.
Okay.
Cass Afraz. Shout out to Cass, my roommate. So to keep my costs down, obviously that's why I have the roommate. Once I got my real estate license back and I had money saved, because I'm really good at saving, I figured I needed at least 3 months to save to be able to live and not worry about, oh my God, I'm not getting a paycheck. Because, in real estate, there's no weekly paychecks. It's
Right.
You earn what you make and what you hustle.
Commission, yeah.
So I quit Chili's in April 2012, right before Cinco de Mayo. And
Wait, you quit right before Margarita Madness?
yeah, that's the worst day to work.
Oh
You know that. All the fake Mexican people come out that day to celebrate. It's not even a real Mexican
To
holiday.
drink Corona-ritas and
Yeah,
get drunk.
yeah. Spend all your money at the bar just to say you celebrated Cinco de Mayo.
That's funny.
So yeah, I got my license back. I quit. I went around to real estate companies, nobody would hire me, which I thought was ridiculous because they all knew.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I think it was because the first office I worked at had a bad reputation. But I always did things differently than everybody else. So,
try to tune that just a little bit. It goes like, yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
But a bad reputation. It's just like one of those girls that you meet, and they're hanging out with like 7, not outstanding women. I'm not saying all women are like that, but I'm just saying, like, when you see that one that that all your friends have already been with,
right,
you automatically associate all her friends to be the same.
Okay.
Right? So I was at an office that had a bad reputation, and that reputation came with me because they thought I was like everybody else. And I was like, right, that's all right. I can get past that. So I ended up calling a friend of mine, Sam Medina. I actually recruited him to the office that he owns. I was his manager. While I was out on my injury, he ended up buying the company from my old boss, who's still my attorney, Joseph Grimaldi, if you ever need a legal assistance. And he was like, yeah. I was like, let's go to work. I'm like, you've been out for a few years, and people actually thought I was dead in the real estate community. There was some agents that told me, like, oh, somebody told me you passed away. I'm like, no, I'm still here.
I attended your candlelight vigil.
So when I went back to work, I had a plan. I had been playing with social media while I was laid in the hospital for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I had a pretty good grasp on how to market on social media.
I'm just starting to learn all about that.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job.
But I had, I had a good amount of time sitting in a hospital bed.
Right.
Playing on my old Nextel piece of crap.
Right.
And what was it? Nextel? It was a Metro piece of crap. Metro PCS for all you guys that don't know who that is. So yeah, I was, playing with the social media then, and things just started clicking as to how the world is connected and how we can communicate with each other if we know how to do it properly.
Right.
So that first year in 2012, I didn't light the world on fire. I sold 4 houses, in the last 8 months of the year, which it's not bad. Average agent sells 8 houses every year. Right. So I did 4 in 8 months, just getting back. I did all my own everything. I didn't have anybody working for me or helping me. I used to lick my own envelopes to send out my mailers, peeling off my labels for my postcards. I used to handwrite all my envelopes. So, like, you see that stack of envelopes behind you?
Oh, yeah.
So now I pay somebody to write all my envelopes for me. Right? So we're doing about 500 to 1,000 envelopes a week that get handwritten. At least 400 to 600 postcards go out every week, if not more. So now I have that girl, Emily Collins, my marketing director. She does that for me. Now I have a transaction coordinator, because before I would do all my own phone calls, all my own emails, set up my own showings. And people don't realize how much money a real estate agent spends.
Right.
They just think, oh, you're making this big commission. And
no, you got to pay for your signs.
30% right off the top goes to Uncle Sam.
Right. And all the marketing you got to pay
all
for.
The marketing that I do, all the postcards and mail outs and flyers and things like that, all have to get paid for somehow. Right. So at the end of the day, I might only keep 25% of that commission that I actually got. Right. So for me, it was, how can I get more sales? How can I reach more people? And I used Facebook for that. A lot of people ask, what's your secret? I was like, I just work hard every day and I grind on Facebook every day. Right. So back to the first year, I linked up with my mortgage broker, George DeSantos, Total Mortgage now. And at the time, he was at some crappy little mortgage company. I saw him all lonely inside there one day, eating his bag of Skittles. Sorry, George.
How much is that doggy in the window?
Yeah, and I recognized him because he was my sister's best friend's little brother. Right. And I knew he had done mortgages. I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm just trying to make stuff happen. I'm like, oh, you want to work with me? Because at the time, no mortgage brokers would even work with me. Right. I would call mortgage brokers and say, hey, I have a plan to make a lot of sales, and in turn, you'll make a lot of money, but I need somebody to work exclusively with me to do what I need them to do, and nobody wanted to take me up on my offer because 99.99999% of mortgage brokers only want to work with you when you're successful. They don't want to be there in the beginning when you're starting the grind and you're getting ready and you're getting your feet wet or getting your feet back in the business. They all want you when you're already established,
right,
because they want a piece of what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't want to work for it. This guy, literally, he helped me write those envelopes. He helped me lick those envelopes.
Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot hose all on me.
They all on me. We used to share our lunches together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'd bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a bag of chips. I'd give him half my sandwich and half my chips.
Right. Just the two of you working.
That's it.
That's
we were in
awesome.
an empty building, a big 3,000 square foot building, and we were the only two in the empty room with 4 desks working.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we put the time in. We did a lot of free stuff for people, free credit repair.
Nice.
That's one of the things that he helped me do for myself because of my incident that happened and the depression that I was going through. I had bad credit.
Yeah.
I probably had the worst credit I've ever seen.
No, I've had horrible credit. It takes a
I
while
had
to
a
get it
420.
back. Ooh, I wasn't that bad.
420.
I was in the 5s, but still.
Yeah, 420. I had a foreclosure from the 2 properties I owned. I had a repossession on the Escalade. I had to claim bankruptcy that year. I was $875,000 in debt when you first met me.
Damn, I didn't know that.
And that shit was scary.
Wow.
To think about. Because I'm one of those people that I don't like to owe anybody a dollar.
Right.
So I'm like, how am I going to pay all these people back? How am I going to pay these mortgages off? How am I going to, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It started to like really screw with my head. And I think that switched the next gear. Is like, I don't ever want to be in that situation where I owe anybody money. And in 2012, my first closing, I actually paid back my old attorney some money that I had owed him. And I could have put him on my bankruptcy and wiped that debt clean. But I know I'm going to run into this guy all the time.
Right.
So after that first closing, I came back like an hour after Sam cut me my check, gave him the money, and I said, I just don't want you to be able to say, oh, Lou owes me money.
Right.
He's still ducking and dodging me, da-da-da. And it wasn't even the case. But the first check, I could have used that whole, I think it was like, at the time, 180, maybe like 35 to $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000 was my first check when it came back. And I gave him $1,200 out of that check. That's what I owed him.
Right.
You know?
Paid him back.
Paid him back. Now I don't owe anybody money except for the mortgages that I have. So here I am. I'm going from house to house to, you know, I was actually, I kept this part out because none of you guys know this. But before I went into my grandparents' house, I was living out of the Charger.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, nobody knew that. How embarrassing would that be?
Right.
That my boy Lou that gets the VIP every weekend, this, that, and the other things, living in his car.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't a fun time. That wasn't like oh, hey guys, can I sleep over tonight? Because I don't want to sleep in my car behind Kmart anymore.
It's good motivation for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I needed that.
Right.
Honestly, like doing that, even though it wasn't by choice, but it kind of was, because I could have called people. I could have said, hey, do you mind if I stay with you for a week or two? But my pride and my ego got in the way to where I didn't want anybody to help me. I didn't want anything.
Right.
But eventually, obviously, when I broke my leg, I had to be somewhere. So I was at my grandparents' house for a little bit. They actually kicked me out because I couldn't pay rent, which is funny. So that's when I ended up on Vine Street.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when they actually kicked me out of the safe home that we call it, because they've been there since '84 or whatever with no mortgage, and it's a 6-bedroom house, and my 96-year-old grandfather and 89-year-old grandmother living there by themselves. I couldn't pay rent, so you can't live here. That's how we were raised. Like, you have to pay where you stay.
You have to pay your way, right?
You know. So I ended up renting a room off of my my aunt. I sold her a 4-family years before, and I rented a room out of their apartment. You know, I literally would get my Social Security check, which was $250 a month that they give you to live off of when you're hurt, because it was temporary disability. I got $350 for food stamps a month, so I would sell half my food stamps so I can make rent. Right. And then I was just ducking and dodging the repo guy because the Charger was about to be taking Eleanor.
They weren't going to take Eleanor.
No. So I actually, funny story, was in Bridgewater sleeping one night, and the repo guy was outside looking for the car. I came flying out with like a broom. I was like, you're not taking this shit today.
Not today, buddy.
And the guy, he looked at me, and he was just like, if they call you, just say I never came. I said, all right, cool, man. I appreciate you.
Hey,
I was like, don't worry.
His name. We won't put him on blast.
No, but yeah, I ended up knowing the tow guy. But I ended up paying that. My mother borrowed me a loan at that time to pay off the car, so I wouldn't have to worry about the repo guy.
Nice.
So God bless my mother. I did pay her back.
Because you love that car.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I should have never got rid of it.
Pretty sure you.
I think I traded that in for like $3,000.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have just kept it.
You should have.
I should. It's like a
probably find
memento.
it again, no?
Probably. I gotta get the VIN number.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there's been some crazy things that's happened on this journey, and
I got my DUI in that car.
you did get your DUI in that car. I remember that night. Don't turn down the street, Perry. Just keep going straight.
That was the worst DUI
That
ever.
was the worst ever. We weren't speeding or anything. We were just at the wrong town, at the wrong time.
I was like less than a half a mile from the border to Brockton, and I would have been good if I had just made it to Brockton.
If he didn't turn,
But I turned. I'm like, I can lose this guy. I turned down the street.
He turned going 3 miles an hour.
My audience already knows I'm an idiot at this point. I mean, we're already a few episodes in, so they know by this point that I do stupid stuff. So yeah, I pull down the street, pull over, and I'm like, okay, we're good here. And don't drink and drive. Obviously, I was super young. I was like I was like 19.
Never
so,
drink and drive.
Yeah. So
19 going into bars.
Yeah. So I was a degenerate. Don't follow my example.
No, it's not worth it. Honestly, it's not worth it.
It's really not. Get an Uber, especially Uber, Lyft. But
yeah, especially now with Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
But back then,
but I was young and I was
that.
dumb, and so I pulled over and I'm like, I'll just pull down this side street and cops will forget about me. So what do we sit there for like 2.5, 3 minutes? I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. Pull back out onto the main road.
And
they
were
waiting
for us.
Waiting for me. Pulled me over, and that was it. I went to jail that night. So that was fun.
And your mom hated me for a little while.
Well, yeah, but I've told her for years. I'm like, I was an adult. I was over 18. I made my own decision. I got in the car. I decided to drive, and so that was like, for me, that was a big like turnaround point. Because I'm like, I never want to do that again. I never want to be, having to do community service.
And if you look back now, it's like, if that never happened, it could have been worse.
Right. I would have kept drinking and driving.
And maybe you would have been speeding on the highway drinking and driving.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So it kind of like makes you mature overnight type of deal.
Yeah. So.
And you were young, so they didn't like hammer you down on fines or anything like that. So.
Right. It was like $10,000. I think I ended up having to pay. It's not cheap for a DUI. No. So I think they call it OUI too here. But anyway, so we'll go back to, we got sidetracked. So keep the Charger. You got to keep the Charger.
Yeah.
But at this point, you're just building your credit back up, paying off debt, getting back.
Yeah. I was told, George said it's going to take a while to get your credit up. So I was like, all right, cool. What do I got to do? He told me what I had to do. I just, A to Z, put my plan in place. I got to do this, and that, and build the credit up at the same time. It's going to take some time. So got some secured loans that was going to take a couple of years to pay off. So I put up my own money to pay it back, which, it's a big trick to pay off. Will build your credit up, guys. It took 16 months to get my credit up. So in that meantime, I literally just went to work every day.
Right.
This was 2013 when we started the credit repair. Literally, I think I took maybe 30 days off that year. So like an equivalent of a month spread out over the year.
Through the whole year.
I just worked, grind, didn't matter what day, what time, what holiday. If you wanted to see the house, you needed to meet with me. You needed help, I was meeting with you. 2014, I ended up buying a house. So it had been literally 6 years since I'd owned a house. So it was a long time to not have your own. I've always had my own. I bought my first house at 21. So, and I've always lived on my own. I've been living on my own since I was 17.
Right.
So I've never had that, I need a roommate or I need to live somewhere, somebody else's house. I've always had my own place. So I bought my house, 3-family in Brockton. For those of you out west that don't know what a 3-family is, it's a multi-family building where 3 families could live, one in each apartment. So I lived on the 3rd floor, and I rented out the first 2 floors. I literally just moved out of there maybe 10 months ago into my first single-family house. But during that time, When I bought the house, it was a good deal and didn't really need work. A carpenter's house.
Right.
You know, it took not take advantage, but they were getting divorced and losing it, so they short saled it to me. So I got a good deal out of a bad situation. And then from there, I just kept grinding. You know, I had my goals. I wanted to have a place like this. You know, I wanted investment properties. I wanted to build my future instead of waiting like I did last time. Right. So I look at it like my 3-family. That's my retirement house. It doesn't matter what it's worth in 30 years when I decide to stop working. Whatever I sell it for is what I walk away with in my pocket. You can't do that when you're renting.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're putting that money into another landlord's pocket and paying their mortgage.
Yeah.
But if you can't own, that's what you have to do. You have to pay your way. You know, unless you plan on living at your parents' house in the basement forever. Hopefully you save some money.
Yeah. Hopefully you're saving if you're doing that. Right.
So literally 2016, I would say, is the breakout year for me. Sold 110 houses that year.
I was going to say, didn't you sell like over 100 houses?
110.
Yeah, 110.
And that was literally...
That was as an agent, right?
So as far as the agent goes, I've been a broker since 2005.
Okay, so
I've just never used my license in that capacity.
Okay.
So I've always been someone's agent, but I can be called a broker by the community.
Okay.
So I just never, because, you know, when you're a broker, you have to carry 3 different insurances.
Right.
A bond. So I just never did that. Mm-hmm. So in 2016, I took 11 days off that year. I still have my calendar. Anybody can see it. And literally it was 2 days for my birthday. It was 2 days for Easter. It was 3 days for the 4th of July.
We wanted to get the 4th of July.
Yeah.
I'm not missing it.
It was 2 days in September for Labor Day, which is mostly used for fantasy football drafts.
Right.
And then a day for Thanksgiving and a day for Christmas. Those were my 11 days off in 2016. Didn't go on vacations, didn't do anything except for work 8 to 8.
Right.
For 355 possible days out of 365.
Damn.
And legit, it's almost been like that, except for now there's a little bit more traveling involved for work.
Right. Being
with Remax. We do a lot of conferences. I've actually spoken at a couple of them because a lot of people wanted to hear my story of, you know, you're living in your car. Right. Less than 7 years ago.
No, I mean, somebody might be listening to this. They might be living in their car right now. So
the biggest thing is, you know, just being able to know that you can do it.
Right.
People always assume they can't.
Well, you know, trying to get out of any situation, if you don't, you can either make moves to get out of it, or you can, you know, sit there and blame other people and say that, you know,
the problem is a lot of people look for excuses not to do it.
Right.
Like, oh, I can't do that. It's hard. I have to do this, that, and that. I'm like, so then do it. Yeah. Well, you already know what you got to do.
Right.
You just don't want to sacrifice your time because you're going to miss all the barbecues, or you're not going to be able to make all the weddings or the baby showers.
Like, I bought a food cart a couple years ago, and I thought it might be something I would want to do, so I put a bunch of money into it, invested a bunch of time, got it up and running, and then decided it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I still had that experience, and I spent that time, and I put it in, and now I can check that off that I don't want to do that as, you know, career.
But at least you tried and you did it.
Right, exactly.
A lot of people don't even have the balls to try.
Exactly, yeah, you got to try.
They just want to, oh, well, my mom doesn't feel good.
Right.
So I have to, what about your dad? Your dad can't take care of him? And sorry for the people that don't have the dad around.
Right.
But you can't be the only person that your adult family members have to rely on.
Right.
You know what I mean? You kind of have to like separate yourself.
And it shouldn't prevent you from living your life.
Right.
And doing stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you can make all the, and I know that people are in shitty situations and, you know, trying to work to get out of it, and sometimes it's hard, but, you know, your stories, so that's why I wanted to talk to you, because your stories, you know, it's, you were living in your car. You you almost lost your leg. Like, so, yeah, I think that's important to tell that story.
So was, you know, sometimes people are too comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
In the surroundings.
Definitely.
And they don't want to mess with that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, oh, you know, if I do this, then I can't have Thursday night poker nights anymore.
Right. Well, that was me at Chili's. I was super comfortable at Chili's. I had been there forever.
You get comfortable.
I finally got fired, and it was like the best thing that happened to me was getting fired, and so.
It made you like a chameleon. You had to change for your environment.
Right. Exactly.
You had to do something differently to survive.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't like working, Gillette and Chili's.
Right.
Doing 75, 80 hours.
But that was
a week.
your road to get.
This is my last paycheck right up there above my desk from Gillette.
Oh, you
can
really
see I was making like $13 an hour. It's right underneath my handicap placard.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a handicap placard, and the check is right there, right above your desk.
And for me, that's like a reminder of if you slow down or take a day off or take it easy, you could end up back there just like that.
Right.
You never know when it's going to happen again.
Right.
I'm still not comfortable, and I make crazy money.
Yeah.
But I wake up hungry every morning thinking I don't have anything still.
Right.
Because just like that can be taken away from you. I had everything back then.
Right.
2 houses, 2 cars. You know what I'm saying? And the next thing you know, I didn't have anything.
It's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're the king of real estate?
So I got that nickname in 2002.
Okay.
I was the youngest agent in my office. I was the newest agent, really. The year before, I had done like 30-something transactions. He's new. It's just beginner's luck. And then that year, I sold 55 houses on my own, not knowing what I was doing. No GPS. You had to print out MapQuest directions back then. No apps to help you. No electronic signatures. You know what I mean? So now, for me, it's easier. So that's why I'm still crushing it, because
it's a lot easier.
I'm just good at what I do. No, not trying to humble brag, I guess you call that. But I forget where we were going with this.
No, just basically, I asked you if, like, now you're the king of real estate, but you were always the king of real estate. You just kind of got back.
So one month that year was July. I sold 20 houses in 1 month, which is like insane.
Right.
To put that many deals together. And then my old mentor Gary Knoyer said, "Yeah, you're like the king of real estate." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds good." So me being, I think I was 24, 25 at the time, I designed a logo back then that I didn't really use or think to like brand myself.
Right.
And if I was smarter, I could have killed it on MySpace, but the games were just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Facebook had games, would be the ultimate.
And
not Candy Crush either.
Games. I think they do have games, but I don't.
I'm talking about like the build your race car game. That thing was. I forget what the name of that was called.
I think we talked about MySpace on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but we were talking about Tom and MySpace.
MySpace was the originator.
Yeah.
That was the social media before anybody knew what social media.
Like, I'm surprised they haven't because
it's like a channel now for musicians to put their music on now.
Right.
Which I thought that's what YouTube was for, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember that was where you would put your playlist, but you put everything there. So you put like your top friends, your playlist,
right?
And so I'm surprised. I'm just surprised it hasn't come back in some format like
the original social media, and nobody even knew what we had until it was too late.
Well, everybody's like foresight. Well, on as far as like the internet and stuff goes, I mean, it comes out, and you gotta imagine that technology is going to move forward. So for me, I mean, I work in technology right now with cell phones, and it's like people fighting technology all the time. Like, I deal with it all the time. Like, I don't want to go into a new phone because it's different, or I don't. Right. And it's like,
well, I'll be honest with you, that was me too for a little bit.
Right.
So in 2012, when I got back to real estate, I had my little piece of crap Metro PCS phone, the flip phone with the green snake for the game. Right. Snake was the main game.
Yeah.
I didn't upgrade until 2015 out of that phone. I had that phone for 5 years. Because one, it was like $10 to buy. My plan was $30, and my whole thing was trying to keep my costs at a minimum.
Right.
You know, I had no idea what an app was. I thought it was like some dessert or food that you eat.
Right.
You know, my cousin's like, "You need the apps. You need the apps." I'm like, "I have my own kitchen. I don't need no apps. I can make my own food." I had no clue what he was talking about with apps.
Right.
So then my first actual real like phone, I want to say, was like the original Android, Galaxy Android, the first one. And I had that for like a good 3 or 4 years. I think I got the S4 3 years after it came out in 2016.
Right.
And then I literally just got the S10 maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's been out for over a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not into big, like, oh, I have to get the new phone as soon as it comes out.
Well, as far as, I mean, you don't need to get the new phone every time it comes out, but as far as
my cousin does, Edelino Miranda.
I upgrade every 2 years, like once my upgrades are available. But like as far as the technology goes, just being like open to new technology I see it's hard to get people into new technology, but just like, the VCR, DVD, Blu-ray, all that stuff, like it evolves, and now everything's digital. Nobody even wants, like, I don't want a stack of DVDs at my house. I want to get rid of DVDs.
Right.
It's not something
I should have sold mine when I had the chance. They're in my mom's basement right now. She's like, when are you gonna get rid of these DVDs and VHS tapes?
You can't get rid of them. People don't want them. It's like it's junk now.
Right.
So
2016 did 110 sales.
110 sales.
So
crushing it.
Part of my goals at the time, I put the goals of how much money I wanted to make, how many houses I wanted to sell, property that I wanted to own, things like that. Like all those type of goals. Like even like how much time I want to take off and how much vacations I want to go on eventually. Those are all goals, and people don't realize you going on a vacation at a spur of a moment is probably the most irresponsible thing you can do.
Right.
But if you plan for it. What's the difference if you go to Bermuda in October or February?
Right.
You're not going to wake up tomorrow and like, hey, let's go to Bermuda next week.
Right.
You plan for it. So put that as part of your goals. So I do my goals every November for the next year.
Okay.
Based on what I did the previous year. So let's say this 2019, I think I've already gone on 5 or 6 trips this year.
Okay.
Been to Vegas, Texas, Fort Lauderdale. Had a camping weekend in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago.
When are you going to come out to Washington?
Soon.
You got to come out before I move back. I'm going to be moving back to Massachusetts at some point.
Hey, that's true. True. I went to whitewater rafting in Maine last weekend on the Kennebec River.
Dope.
This weekend.
That's always fun.
Yeah, this weekend on Saturday I leave to Chicago.
Nice.
For 5 days.
So you set your goals. So as part of like when you're setting your goals in November, you're like, I want to take X amount of vacations and
days off.
You set time
smash, to visit repeat. Family, things like that.
Just set, smash, repeat.
Yeah, that's it. And then the rest of the time, I'm just grinding.
Right.
So 2016, 110 sales. I wanted to open up my own real estate company because I thought it was time. I was outgrowing the place that I worked at.
Okay.
My old boss didn't see the same vision. I wanted to stay with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was looking for places for him to grow and get bigger because I didn't want the whole management part of this business and training and taking care of other agents.
Right.
Not because I'm not good at it. It just takes away time from, I could train you for 2 hours or I can go sit on the beach. Right. I choose to train the person for 2 hours now.
Right.
I could go home by 5 o'clock every day or earlier. I choose to stay here in case anybody needs help writing contracts, reviewing contracts, things like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I put the extra time in here where I would say 9 out of 10 brokers, you'll never see them in their office.
Right.
They're just too busy. And I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but they're too busy.
Part of my favorite part of your social media game is when you are throwing shade and because you are not afraid to call people out. So
no, you got to keep them accountable. People mess up, you got to keep them accountable.
Yeah,
it's the same thing if you go to Chili's and there's a mosquito in your food.
Yeah,
you usually take a picture and post it and say, "Don't eat at Chili's."
Right.
They have bugs in their food.
Right.
There's no different.
Right.
You're still going to hurt their business just like you're going to hurt that mortgage broker that can't close the loans business.
Right.
I can't say any names because I could be sued, but
yeah,
there's a lot of bad mortgage brokers out there. Just try to stay away from online companies, people. That's the best tip I can give you when buying a house. Go to meet somebody face to face and sit down with them. That way you know where they sleep at night. You know where they work. If you have an issue with your loan, you can go to their office, and you're not trying to call somebody that works out of India to help you with your loan.
Yeah.
That's the way real estate they're trying to head it to. They're trying to head it to, Amazon bought Realogy, and they want to take real estate agents out and make everything digitalized.
Automate it.
Yeah. But what kind of service are you going to get?
Right. I feel
if you have to pay somebody to work with you.
Right. I feel like that's a hard service to automate, though.
It definitely is. Like they're trying to do it with cars, where you just go online and pick your car.
Right.
You know what I mean? But people still want face-to-face interaction. They want to do the test drive. Same thing with houses.
Right.
They want to meet me to see if they would want to work with me. And a lot of people, for some reason, whatever it is, they don't want to work with me. I don't know. I couldn't explain to you why. Maybe we just didn't click. Maybe they didn't like something I said. Maybe they didn't think I was funny. Maybe they just don't like the way I look.
Right.
You know, I lose a lot of business just because. I couldn't even tell you why.
Right.
But I look at it like, if I wanted the best doctor in the world to treat me, I don't care what he looks like.
Right.
I don't care how dumb his jokes are. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want the best.
Right.
You know, I'm the best real estate agent. I'm sorry to all the other agents out there that maybe sell more volume as far as, you know, I think like right now this year I'm at 30 million in sales, which is crazy. But there might be that agent there that does 70 million in sales. Right. But they sell all $10 million properties. So he only sold 7 houses that year. Right. I always say if I grew up rich, I'd be doing 400 million in sales. You know, I don't know rich people. Right. I know people like me. Right. People that work hard, people that hustle, people that make their money, and they're just trying to survive. Those other agents that are doing their, you know, 10 deals for 60 million, they would never survive in Brockton because they don't know how to sell. They just know rich people. They were fortunate to grow up in a nice neighborhood. And
so now that your real estate game is back, you're going strong, you do a lot for the community that you live in too, right?
Yes.
So what type of stuff are you doing as far as that goes?
So we just did the Cape Verdean Festival this past Sunday.
Okay.
I think
explain because I know that
nobody out there knows what a Cape Verdean is.
Nobody knows what a Cape Verdean is.
So Cape Verde is an island off the west coast of Africa, the south coast of Portugal. It was a Portuguese island inhabited by Portugal. So back in the day when Christopher Columbus was coming to discover America, Cape Verde was a place they would stop, and they would actually buy slaves there. So I don't know how many Cape Verdeans were here in 1492, right? But a lot of the African slaves came over on those boats and were picked up from Cape Verde. And Cape Verde got their independence in 1973. Okay. So it's a very newly free country. I want to say our population is just over 2 million maybe total worldwide. Because you have a lot of Cape Verdeans in Africa and in Europe. Okay. And then, of course, in the United States, mostly in Brockton, you'll find the Cape Verdeans.
No, if you go West Coast, people do not know Cape Verdeans.
Well, I have an uncle that lives in Sacramento, so... Yeah. He's making the grounds out there. I met a couple
people that do, but most of them are from the East Coast.
Right. But he was from here and then moved over there. My sister has a house in Sacramento. Right. Traveling nurse. But this past Sunday we did the Cape Verdean Festival. Is to commemorate and honor the Cape Verdeans from the past, and people can try the foods that they have. We have a lot of Cape Verdean stores in this town. So I bought a ton of stuff to give away just so I can get my name out there in the community. Right. We did like tattoos for the kids, sunglasses, frisbees, backpacks, water coolers, raffled off Red Sox tickets for free. Nice. But then we also talk to the people. It's not about making a sale, but talking to the people in the community to see what could be better. Right. I also part of Jimmy Pereira's campaign to run for mayor. Because I believe he is going to be the best choice for Brockton. We also do like Rain and Pride Day, which is another town, a couple of towns over from us. We sponsor the event. We usually get the Remax balloon there so the kids can take a free ride on the balloon. I donate to like the Brockton youth basketball leagues. Doing Pop Warner this year. I've done the baseball teams. So a lot of times time isn't my best friend, so I can't really get out there as much as I want to do the events. So I give money. Right. They need money for jerseys and things like that, and water. Recently, one of the agents in my office, he just started doing basketball camps for the kids. Nice. So he sponsors that. Olivero Lopes, giving you a little shout out at Remax Energy. He's been doing a lot more, and I think if you're going to live here, you might as well be more involved where you live. You can't just take your money and then go hide in your house and not care about where you live. The better you can make where you live, obviously the better the place is going to be where you're living. Right. So we do a lot of that stuff and donate. I think we just dropped off crayons and coloring books for the children's for the drawing a blank right now. So this guy Manny that passed away recently. Brockton Hub.
I got off the Brockton Hub. It was too. It was just too much.
Dude, I get to my day. My day goes by so much smoother when I can read some of this craziness. That goes on
I was on it for a while because I'm on the West Coast, and I was like, oh, this keeps me, kind of connected to my city, and because I still got a lot of love for Brockton, even though I live across the country. But it was just too much, man. You got to Brockton Hub if you're listening. Why are you guys all so negative to each other? It's just like, be nice to each other.
Like,
Jesus.
You'll say it's hot today, and there'll be an argument. No, it's not hot.
Yeah, it's like, why? Like, you have
it's
so
not
much
that hot.
time. Yeah,
Stop complaining.
I had to get off. I might go back at some point, but like maybe when I move back.
But they were looking for crayons and coloring books for
Right.
the kids at the children's hospital, so we got them a bunch of stuff that they needed. Then we do like the winter drive where we get the sweaters and blankets for the homeless. Some of these guys will actually be at the food shelter helping with the food pantry during the Thanksgiving.
Nice.
We also do the toys for kids during Christmas time. So as you go out and spend like $1,000 on just toys and just load up.
That's my favorite time. Like
to
like getting kids to.
The worst thing growing up,
and toys.
Like you grew up like me, poor, right?
Right.
The best part of Christmas was when Globe Santa dropped off that big box.
Right.
And for those that know what Globe Santa is, you do not know the struggle, right? Loved it. And I'd be pissed if I didn't get more than one football because, when you have 8 brothers and 1 sister, one football is hard to share.
Yeah.
So
that's my favorite. Yeah. So I'm glad that you guys are doing a lot of good things.
Yeah, so we try to make the kids, and it's a tax deduction.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, these kids' joy is more than,
and you don't have to do it. I mean, it's
I don't have to,
but you don't have to do it.
Right?
So
I don't have to, but it's good to do that stuff.
Right.
Like nobody ever did that stuff when I was growing up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like give back to the community, help the community out, and just live a happy, peaceful life.
So before we start to wrap it up, we'll probably get wrapped up here shortly, but I don't know if you can answer this or not. I don't want to get you in any trouble or anything like that. But so I was at the gym this morning. A story popped up. Medical marijuana in Massachusetts. As far as real estate goes, so there's going to be obviously a big boom with the retailers and recreational shops, but they're also talking about cannabis cafes and all that stuff. Do you think, I mean, a lot of people are on the fence as far as what it's going to bring to the state of Massachusetts. I live in Washington where it's legal. There's no issues with it. It's booming. It's making the communities a lot of money. So as far as from a real estate standpoint, like, what do you, are you able to talk about that or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's like what we talked about earlier. People are scared to change.
Right.
Do you really think crime is going to increase by making something legal?
No.
If it's legal and more monitored.
Right. It's a lot less sketchy than going to meet somebody in their car or their home.
Yo, give me that
usually
fake,
they have
give me the fake handshake and put the weed in my hand.
Right. And usually they have, like, if they're a real drug dealer, they have a gun. So it's like, it's usually sketchy. So for me, I like
safer
to be able to,
for people with the shops. And my older brother, he actually, I didn't meet him until junior year in high school. He lived in Rotterdam, Holland.
Okay.
And he'll tell you that on Holland, you can look this up, lowest crime rate in the world, and almost every drug is legal.
Yeah.
Because nobody has to, steal and kill people for it.
Right.
You can go to the store and buy it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, war on drugs.
And I'm not saying let's make crack and heroin legal so people can just feel free to shoot up, but it's statistically proven that.
Yeah, I mean,
you legalize it. Like, look what happened when they legalized alcohol. Not that we were alive back then, but
prohibition.
There was a big thing going on.
Over. Same thing with the cartel right now. I mean, the cartel's in power because of the war on drugs, because drugs are illegal, and it's just a big. So, yeah, I got that.
But it would be nice to be able to go into like a coffee shop and hit a little hookah of some THC and have a donut and a coffee afterwards, and read your newspaper.
Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
I mean, there's bars. You can go into a bar and drink and then head out at 2:00 in the afternoon.
And I think I'd feel much safer if everybody was smoking weed.
Yeah.
And driving while high, as crazy as that might sound.
Right.
Than drinking drunk.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And
100%.
People do that 99% of the time. Right. Nobody's going to tell me, oh, every time I go out, I get an Uber or a designated driver.
Right.
You know, our designated drivers never worked out.
No.
Hawaii, you're the worst designated driver.
I know. Yeah, it was always, and then my car was a stick, so that only certain people could drive my car. So that was always fun. But yeah, definitely we'll touch back on that. But definitely get a designated driver when you're out drinking. But do you think it's, as far as like real estate goes, that's got to affect the real estate? That's got to be huge.
Well, the thing is, you're always going to have people in the community that don't want it because they're scared of it. Right. But they don't realize it's bringing more tax revenue to the city.
Right.
To help build more roads and schools and things like that. And they should tax it higher.
Yeah.
You know, because they're making a buttload of money off of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I live in a town where it's legal. Like when we first moved there was one shop. And so I would go to that shop, and now there's like 6 or 7 shops throughout the whole town. But there's a big logging facility in that town, and it closed down, and they were trying to decide what they were going to do. And one of the things that they were thinking was bringing in like a marijuana distribution center. And one of the reasons that they gave for not bringing it in was it might make it smell like weed downtown a little bit. And it's like, that's bringing in jobs. Like, all these people just lost their jobs. Do you think they care if the town smells a little bit like weed? Which it wouldn't. It's, you know, it's not going to just smell like a Cypress Hill concert downtown.
You live in like a farmland area?
Yeah, I live in East Bumfuck.
So they'd rather have the cow poop smell over the weed smell.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. But it's starting to, like I said, when I first lived there was one shop. Now there's like 7. So the town is starting to see the benefits of having it because it brings in a lot of money. Like the first shop that moved in their first year, I think they pulled in like $3 million or something like that. So it's and that was the first year that they were open. So
nice.
It's
Brockton
only
$3 million right now.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't like to see happen, which is going to most likely happen, is they're going to limit how many shops, which I think is illegal, but not really, the way they were explaining it to me, because you're telling me only Perry can open up a marijuana shop and I can't. Why? It's
supposed to be a lottery. Like that's how I think that's how they did it in Washington.
Yeah, but if I want to open a convenience store, I can just open a convenience store.
Right.
I don't need a lottery for that.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
If I want to open up pretty much any business except for
would it be like the same as like a liquor store? Like a liquor store?
True. They're going to give out a certain amount of licenses for it.
Is that kind of how?
But I feel like it's going to be geared towards the people that are in the know and their friends. And you want a shop? Oh, just give me, 10 grand. And,
right.
You can have a shop.
Is that something you would ever get into? Would you ever buy, a shop as a real estate investment?
Do monkeys sell bananas?
No. So that's good point. So the last thing before we finish wrapping it up, you touched on it a little bit, but we've talked about the real estate, we've talked about your comeback, but you also play football. So we
retired
talked a little
now.
bit about retired, but
so I played semi-pro since 1997.
Since 97.
And football's
when
one
did
of
you
those,
retire?
Last year was my last year playing football.
Last year. It's weird when you finish.
Yeah, well,
I finished a long time ago.
I'm having a procedure done in a couple weeks, which is going to stop me from playing football ever again. But I'm I'm 41 now, so it's time to hang it up.
Yeah.
But you meet a lot of good people, and a lot of the relationships that I built have lasted pretty much. I'm still friends with one of the guys that I played football with in 1997.
Right.
Jay Callahan, electrician, if you ever need one in Massachusetts. But yeah, we've literally seen each other go through the good times, the bad times. I don't know how many times he's been married in that time, but I've known every single one of his girlfriends that he's gone with and broken up with. You know what I mean?
Right. Stay tight with people.
But and those guys in the semi-pro world, they're all great guys for the most part.
Who did you play for?
So I've played for Middleborough Cobras. I've played for the Brockton Buccaneers. I've played for the Plymouth Outlaws. I've played for the Taunton Gladiators.
Is that who you retired with?
No, I should have retired with them, but I was at the point in my career where I felt like I just wanted to play one last time, and I was at the age where the younger guys were better, faster, stronger. But I started 5 games for Brockton last year, and my last year I only played 5.
What position?
Left tackle.
Left tackle.
So I started 5 games with left tackle last year, and then I played 1 game in the playoffs, and I got hurt halfway through that game, and that was the last time I played. They're already in week 3 right now this year, so I haven't even attended the game yet.
No.
But
I was gonna try to get one.
Yeah, playing football just basically released the aggression for me.
Yeah.
Even after I got hurt, I went back to play, and against my doctor's orders, told me you're not going to be able to run again anymore. So it was one of those things where I just wanted to prove him wrong. So I would say the year after I got done with my surgeries, I was training for football, and I went back and I played football. I played for like 6 more years basically after the last surgeries.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'm done with football. Now it's just real estate, building this empire, building it stronger, training guys to be better agents, better people.
Is there anything that you want to finish up that we didn't talk about with that you wanted to get in before we finish?
I think maybe just leaving a quick story. So I have an agent here in my office. I basically had a meeting last November when I did my goals. I actually set goals for other people on my team. And he wanted to quit. He said, well, I can't do that. I said, and this was the goal, sell 12 houses to stay on board. Right? So basically I was going to give you a pink slip if you didn't this year. November meeting. He's like, no way. I might as well just quit now. I can't do this. And I said, Jojo, you can do this. This is what you got to do every day. This is what you got to break your hours down. You got to organize your time. You got to figure out what you got to do every year, every month, every week, every day, every hour, every minute to get to those goals. So yesterday, what's today? Wednesday, Tuesday?
I forget. Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, I just flew in.
So yesterday, and yesterday was July. Is it okay if I say a date?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right,
I backlogged these, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So yesterday was July 29th, and Jojo, the agent that wanted to quit because he didn't think he could meet the goal, closed his 14th sale of the year. So I looked at him, I said, and you wanted to quit.
Right.
You didn't think you can do it. Why? I was like, so now you have 5 months. You can go take the rest of the year off if you want.
Right.
Or try to do 20.
Right.
Try to do 25. Try to do 30. You did 14.
Right.
So by my calculations, you should be able to do 28.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're only going to make more money for yourself.
Right.
So that's somebody that didn't believe in themselves. Got a little pep talk. And if you need somebody to get a pep talk to somebody that's successful. They'll talk to you. They don't mind sharing their secrets or telling you what it takes to become successful.
Right.
You know, the saying goes, surround yourself with 3 successful people, you become the 4th.
Yeah,
you know,
makes sense.
And he sees the work that I put in, the grind I put in every day, and he's already accomplished his goal in just over half of the year. But when you put your mind to it, I believe you can do anything. And for me, it wasn't even about real estate. I could do any business that I want to. If I want to open up a cleaning company, I'll open it up, and I'll be successful at it because I know what I need to do.
Right.
Same thing if I want to open up a moving company or a landscaping business. I can do anything. I chose real estate because that's where I started, and that's where I want to finish, and I have a lot to prove, and I have a lot to gain, and I still have a lot of goals to crush. Like this year, I'm trying to do 200 sales, which seems ridiculous to the normal person, but it's possible. I'll be at 100 tomorrow.
Hey.
I have 10 closings tomorrow, so I'll be at 100 sales for the year, and it'll be July 31st.
Damn. That's impressive.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, though. You got to be able to want to put the time in. You got to be able to want to work.
Yeah.
You have to be able to differentiate what's important.
Right.
Like I miss a lot of weddings. I miss a lot of baby showers and birthday parties and cookouts and pool parties and nightclub parties and things like that. I miss them because my ulterior motive is to be more successful and to have a debt-free life where I don't have to worry if the market crashes.
Right.
You know, because right now I'm not worried if it's going to crash in a year and a half.
You heard it here exclusively on Itty Bitty Podcast.
But you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like I don't binge watch TV shows anymore.
Right.
You know, like somebody was like, oh, what was that show with the freaking people with the swords and stuff? Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Never watched an episode.
I did.
I've never watched one episode.
After that last season, I don't think you missed much.
But that's the thing, though. That's one of those, when I'm 60,
right?
like, you know what? let me watch some Game of Thrones. I'll binge
Right.
watch it then when I got nothing else to do. But right now I got so much to do and so much goals that I want to accomplish and so much on my plate. All that other stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody tells me like, oh, hey, we're all getting together Friday at 4 o'clock after work. Da da da. Well, my day ends at 8. So what does 4 o'clock have to do with me?
Right. I was listening to, I think it was the Joe Rogan Experience. He had Wiz Khalifa on, of all people, and I love Wiz.
I think I caught a few clips of that on Facebook.
Yeah, and so he was asking about rapping, and Wiz was talking about how he raps every day. He's constantly in the studio, or he's constantly just
he's
rapping.
working on his crap.
Right. And so with anything, and so I took that and I was thinking about like this podcast, and I was working on my podcast, but this was a couple months ago when I saw that interview. And so I heard that interview and I was like, he's right. And so I started working on the show every day. And so every day I would work on it, even if it was just a little bit. But yeah, I think I took that, and that's kind of like what you're saying. Like you should just work every day at what you want to do.
The best, Michael Jordan become the greatest because he just woke up and was the greatest. He worked on his shot every day. He worked on his dribble. He worked on his defense.
Right.
Every day I come here and work on my Facebook.
Yeah.
I work on my jokes. I work on my marketing.
So that's that primarily where people can find you, is the Facebook?
My Facebook page is public. It's open to anybody to follow. It's open to anybody to add me as a friend.
Do you want to say that so people know?
So it's Louis Martins.
Okay.
Luis, no O, no EW. Luis Martins, Martins. You please just, if you're out of state, just click the follow button. You're gonna get the same content as you would if you were my friend. I just don't want to, add all these friends that I don't know and then take up space from actual people that want to connect with me and come meet with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I work on this every day.
Right.
I mean, I've been told, how can you do this? How are you able to do this many sales? There's not enough time in the day. Well, I put the people in place. I surround myself with good workers and good employees and a marketing director and a transaction coordinator and a manager, but I still meet with all my clients face to face.
That's definitely important.
But a lot of times the problem is nowadays, and this is different from when I first grew up, everybody wants their instant result. I'm going to open up a landscape company, and they immediately want the next day their phones to ring, but they don't know how to make it ring. They immediately want you to recommend them to their friends, but you've never even done anything for me.
Right.
If I was a landscaper, I'd go cut 20 lawns for free in a day. Leave my card. Hey, I did this for free. If you're interested in me coming back, here's my card. How many people out of those 20 you think would call you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do that every day for a month. And then at the end of that month, you're going to have 20 new clients at least.
Yeah.
But nobody's willing to do the free work.
Right.
Nobody's willing to put in that time. Legit, think about it.
Yeah.
If somebody just cut your mom's lawn and was like, hey, it's $25 every time I come back.
Right.
You don't think your mom would be like, call that guy that just cut our lawn for free and have him come back. $25, that's a good price.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But nobody's willing to do that work. They just want the money right away.
Hey, I'm over here giving the people a free podcast. So.
Exactly. but hey, you know what? You're giving them some good information. And the ones that are listening, that are taking it in and actually going to do something, which is maybe 2%.
Yeah.
That's good for them. The other ones, they're just listening because, I don't know, they have nothing else to do and they just want to listen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And probably, one of those closet haters that will be like, oh, this podcast sucks. You know what I mean? Which it
I haven't
doesn't
had
suck.
any of those
Suck.
yet. I'm sure they'll be there, but so is that the only place that you want people to go to find you? Is there anything else you want to plug before we finish up?
I mean, honestly, everything's through my Facebook.
Do you have any events or anything in the Brockton area coming up that you want to tell people about?
Well, we just did the CV Festival a couple of days ago.
Actually,
we have, I don't know the dates off the top of my head. Emily would know but she's upstairs right now. We're doing the Boys and Girls Club. We did it last year. It was pretty fun. We set up like a table and we actually give out the stuff with the kids on this one. We don't even bring Remax flyers or cards or anything like that. We just give out all the stuff, the toys and coloring books and crayons and backpacks for school and things like that. Bring it to the Boys and Girls Club. I think that's in like 3 weeks. That's the next event. I just can't remember. But if you look up Boys and Girls Club, they'll have it on their website in Brockton. But yeah, I mean, if I can leave you with one thing, just work hard every day. And you'll be surprised at the results. And, and just cut out all the BS.
Right.
Cut out the friends that drag you down. You know, you always have that one friend that always needs a ride, always needs to borrow $20, never pays you back. You know what I mean? Always wants something from you, but they don't offer anything in return.
Right.
Like, hey, can I borrow $20? I'll come take your trash out for the next 2 weeks.
Right.
Cool. Here's 20.
Yeah.
Trash day's on Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, people don't think that way. Like, I don't mind borrowing you money, but what are you offering me in return?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you know you're never going to get that money back. So I look at it like, here's $30. I'll probably never see you again. So I literally just paid you to get out of my life.
Right. Hey.
You know, but work hard. Just wake up every day hungry. You can't be comfortable, you know. And like I said, I make good money. I'm the first one here, the last one out every day still.
Right.
And this has been going on since 2016. You know, like I literally could take a year off and it wouldn't hurt me at all. And do nothing for a year. I could binge watch every show for that year. But if you don't put that work in ahead of time, you're not ever going to be able to do that.
Get to that point,
and people don't think about when they retire at 65. They'll worry about it when they get there, and hopefully Social Security will be there. So put the time in now. Save $10 a week and just put it away and never think about it.
I know, it's easy. There's apps that will
There's
an app that I have that it rounds up to the nearest dollar. So every time I make a purchase, it puts money in my savings.
Yeah, so that's a good way to save. And here's the thing, like. I had 5 bank accounts at one time, like a couple years ago, because I didn't know how to manage like the tax money and the business money and this money and that money. My accountant helped me out, but at that time, I had one account that was my savings. Didn't have a check to it, didn't have an ATM card to it, and it was 20 miles away from where I lived, and I hate driving far. So that was my savings account, and I automatically took it out and deposited it, you know, through the AHC or whatever it's called, and but that's how I saved money that I wanted to personally spend on whatever I wanted. But people have access to it, they're never going to save it.
Yeah.
You know, saving it and not touching it is one thing, but if you have access to it, you're always thinking about, oh, well, you know, worst case scenario, I can dip into my savings and swipe the card. You know, you're never going to save it that way.
Yeah.
Even throw it into a CD or an IRA, because remember, when you're 65, your parents are gone, most likely. Who's taking care of you?
Right.
You're going to spit out a couple kids that may not want to help you out when you get older. You know, so you got to plan for that too.
Yeah, I got an IRA early.
Yeah. I'm actually putting away money for my son in his IRA that he won't be able to touch till he's 65.
Yeah.
But he'll thank me well after I'm gone that I did that for him.
Exactly.
You know,
you don't have to, like, it accumulates so much if you do it young.
Yeah. And you don't have to put away that much.
Right.
You know, put away $1,000 a year when you start out. That's nothing. That's $20 a week for those that are trying to do the math. $20 a week. You spend more on a restaurant. You spend more on Dunkin' Donut coffee per month. You spend more on cigarettes, weed, going out to eat, going to the bar, paying for that VIP, paying for the parking to go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're spending so much money in places that you don't even know that you could be saving a lot more.
Right.
And I do a lot of that financial talk with people in the office on how to save, and look at them. Like, you can look at my bag right there. That's my lunch. So I bring a lunch every day still, and I can afford to eat out.
Right.
You know, but there's a lot of people in my office that, and I'm not trying to, for any of them that are listening, I'm not trying to say anything bad. That's your choice. You know, you work hard, you want to eat out every day. That's your choice. Live your life. Nobody's telling you that's a bad thing, but don't come to me and complain that you're broke. When I can say, well, you spent $200 this week on lunch. Mm-hmm. I spent $15.
Yep. We spend like $100, I think, on groceries, and then I bring a lunch every day.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's healthier.
I pack my lunches for the whole week.
Right.
You know, I don't smoke anymore, which is a good thing.
You quit cigarettes?
Yeah, just a vape now.
Nice. Congratulations.
You know, like Dunkin' Donut coffee. It's probably not big where you're living now, but
no, they don't have. They have espresso stands. That's what you should get on. That espresso stands, man. It's just a tiny little stand, 2-sided window. You pull up, bomb coffee, and then you go. They have bikini baristas too, if you're into that type of thing. So
nice.
Pull up a girls in, like, it's not even a bikini.
I'm
usually
juicing these days during the day. So
you're juicing?
Yeah.
Nice.
But people around here will spend $3 to $5 a day on one coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. When you can buy your own coffee maker, buy a pound of coffee for $15,
and it usually tastes better.
It tastes better, and you can have as much as you want. Whatever you don't use, you put it in your refrigerator for iced coffee. Right. And now you're spending $16 a month between coffee and the filters.
Yeah.
Instead of $25 or $40 a week.
Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, it all adds up. Like, you got to pinch all the pennies wherever you can. You know what I mean? And I was never like that. I was just like, oh, it's $20, no problem. Here you go. Just 20
Yeah.
to get in. Oh, it's $50 for the doorman, no problem. It's like, but had I cut out, I probably spent as much as I made partying and doing stupid stuff, and that's where I went wrong. I feel like wasn't more conscientious about what I was doing, and I've always felt like I was gonna miss something. Like, oh my God, if I don't go out
like
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday like we used to.
Right. You're gonna
Yeah,
miss
I
out
think
on a
was it
party
Wednesday
or-
through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday?
I think it was Sunday to Monday, but well, listen, man, thank you for taking the time to hang out and talk to me. I think that like if people hear your story, you know, especially if they're not in a great place, it's good motivation to try to get off their ass and, you know, kind of turn their life around. So
Yeah, don't get depressed. Don't beat yourself over the head. It's not your fault. You can fix it.
yeah.
Whatever you get yourself into, you can fix.
How much debt did you have?
$875,000 in debt in 2008.
So I think we'll finish off on that.
right.
Lewis Martins, thanks for stopping by. And I'll see you guys next week. Later. All right. And as always, thanks for tuning into the show. Hop on to ittybittypodcast.com to check out all things Itty Bitty Podcast. You can also check out our other show, Choice Nugs Only, on there. It's our weekly music podcast. We also kind of make, you know, inappropriate jokes. So if you want to laugh and hang out with us and hang out every week, check that show out. Check us out on Twitter at Itty Bitty Pcast and on Instagram, Itty Bitty Podcast. And check us out, download, review, and subscribe. Tell all your friends about us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Peace.